What's up, YouTube? This is Too Raw for TV. Before I get into this video, as always, I want to remind you guys, if you want to donate to my channel, if you want to show support and love for Too Raw for TV, you can do so in the links provided in the description box below via the PayPal or Cash App. I want to thank Gary for his donation to the channel yesterday. Thank you, Gary. I saw that donation, I think, late last night, I think it was. I saw that donation. Thank you, Gary, and thank all of you who have donated to the channel. I've mentioned this, quite a few times now. I have created a Patreon account. I've gotten, I think, 19 of you guys over there so far. But I'm trying to get as many of you guys over there as possible to make this a Patreon nation over there. You know what I'm saying? Because on YouTube, I cannot talk about stuff on YouTube the way that I can over on Patreon. I've already uploaded a lot of content over there already. I've uploaded a video on Patreon this morning. You guys come over there for the very low price of only $2 per month. You get totally uncensored, unfiltered content on the Patreon. And if you guys come over there, man, much appreciated, man. And this is a video request from Daryl Sloan Coleman, I think it is. And he's been waiting a long time for this one. I mean, a long time. I've been putting this on the back burner for so long, and I can't do it anymore. I couldn't do it anymore. He's a strong supporter of my channel, man, so I have to, do this video for him, man. And this is I did a video like this before. I think it was the Extreme Team, which is a combination of the 60s, 70s All-Stars versus the Dream Team, the 92 Dream Team. This one is a combination of the 60s, 70s All-Stars versus the 2012 Olympic team. And this is an interesting matchup. It's almost like a yin and yang, all right? It's a parallel of two different eras. On the 60s and 70s team, you have a lineup of, at center, Wilt Chamberlain, then at power forward, Bill Russell. Small forward, you have Elgin Baylor. At shooting guard, you have Jerry West. And at point guard, you have Oscar Robertson, of course. The bench consists of Queen Abdul-Jabbar, Bob Pettit, Julius Erving, George Gervin, Nate Archibald, Elvin Hayes, the Big E, and Rick Barrett. Now, of course, the 2012 team consisted of, in no particular order as far as lineup or whatever, but you have Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant, Tyson Chandler, Anthony Davis, a young Anthony Davis, Kevin Durant, James Harden, a young James Harden, in his prime, Andre Iguodala, and in his prime, LeBron James, Kevin Love, Minnesota Timberwolves version, Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, and Deron Williams. Now, who would win in a matchup amongst these titans of the hardwood? I'm going to be honest with you. It's a tougher matchup to call than some people would think I would say. Most people would think I would say, "Oh man, the older team would just beat the hell out of this team." But there's some certain advantages the 2012 team have that would make you pause for thought. The biggest advantage that I see is that the 2012 team just has such a distinct advantage with ISO players, one-on-one guys. Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant, Kevin Durant, obviously James Harden, Deron Williams, Chris Paul. These types of players, in particular James Harden, and Carmelo Anthony, Kobe Bryant. These are three of the greatest ISO players in the history of the NBA. All right. Now, as far as the Extreme Team, ISO guys, of course, they have George Gervin, And I guess you would consider Jerry West a great ISO player, one-on-one guy. Oscar Robertson was a guy that utilized his size a lot, but he wouldn't have the distinct size advantage playing against the the 2012 team as he did during his own era. He was 6'5", 225 pounds, so he still would be a load, but his size will be more consistent with somebody like Mitch Richmond. You know what I'm saying? Still a big load, but I just see some advantages with the 2012 team in one-on-one situations. I see the 2012 team in particular, guys like Kobe Bryant. I'm talking about perimeter guys now. Iguodala, LeBron James, Javon Williams, Russell Westbrook. All right, I see a, a, a quickness advantage. So I can see, despite the fact that Nate Archibald is a good defender, Jerry West was a great defender. I could see these guys getting burnt a couple times on defense. You know what I'm saying? I'm going to put this game, this hypothetical game, in the rules of the early 2000s. Okay, I just want to be somewhat fair. Like, I don't want to make it too slanted for the older guys, where you could hand check, put your hands on guys, be real, real physical. By the 2000s, you couldn't hand check, but you could still use your forearms. You still could use some physicality. So I want to put it toward there to make it kind of, it's not like how it is now where you can't touch anybody. So I want to make it somewhat fair. You know what I'm saying? Also, a big advantage I see for the 2012 team is outside shooting. Now it's not like they got a bunch of Steve Kerrs and Klay Thompsons and Stephen Curry's on their team, but you have Carmelo Anthony, who's a career 34.7% three-point shooter. You have Kobe Bryant, who, despite the fact that he only was 32.9% for his career, in his prime he was close to 34%. Last 3 years, when he was a shell of himself, his percentage went down as his ability to get by his defenders and get a reasonable good shot off was uh, diminished. You have Anthony Davis, who, despite the fact that he's a big, could and can go out there and knock down the occasional three. This could pose a problem for the front court of the extreme team. Not that he's a great three-point shooter, but he can knock it down. Kevin Durant, of course, one of the great scorers in the history of the game. Kevin Durant would be a big problem for the extreme team. He's 6'10.5", in shoes about 7 feet, close to 7 feet tall. Elgin Baylor is only 6'5". Julius Erving, only 6'7". George Gervin, shooting guard though, but he's only 6'7", I believe, 6'7". So yeah, Kevin Durant poses a serious problem. You know what I'm saying? James Harden, 36.5%, arguably the most prolific three-point shooter in the history of the league, or one of the most prolific. When you look at the amount of attempts that he takes. Um, LeBron James, 34.3%. Not a great overall three-point shooter, but he has his spots where he can knock it down. He can get into a rhythm and he can start, lighting up from downtown occasionally. Andre Iguodala at 32% is not a great three-point shooter, but he can knock it down on occasion. Deron Williams, no longer in the league, but have we forgotten about classic Deron Williams? The Utah Jazz version of him when he was putting up 20 and 10 on a nightly basis, lighting up guys, 35.7% from beyond the arc. So he could knock that shot down. And of course, you have Chris Paul and Kevin Love. Kevin Love being a stretch four in this situation. Even though I think in Minnesota at that time he really, really wasn't shooting a lot of threes, but let's just make him a stretch four in this situation. Both of those guys, Kevin Love and Chris Paul, knocked down threes at a 37% rate. Now, Russell Westbrook, of course, is the weak link when it comes to outside shooting. He's very inconsistent, only about a 29% three-point shooter. But still, this is a Westbrook in his prime physically. He's an explosive point guard. So there's a distinct advantage on the perimeter for the 2012 team. So you would think this is a no-brainer. But the problem lies in the fact of size. Size down low will almost completely nullify, and points and paint will almost completely nullify the advantage the 2012 team has at the perimeter. You have Wilt Chamberlain, who is the strongest player in the NBA history, 7'1", 275 pounds of pure muscle, 275. Actually, even though he was listed 275, Wilt probably by 1962 was really close to 290. Extremely strong player. Cannot really be stopped by one guy. Back in Wilt's time, you could double team a guy before he got the basketball, which a lot of people don't understand that they did that to Wilt. Like, Wilt oftentimes, if you see some of the highlights, he's already doubled and sometimes triple teamed before he gets the ball. You can't really do that now. You got to wait for the guy to get the ball. So Wilt Chamberlain would be a monumental, by himself, especially if he gets it going, he's a monumental task for a team to try to contain. Especially this version of the Wilt Chamberlain, 25 years old, when he still had ability to put the ball on the floor. Saying he had that little fall away jumper. He had the bank shot. He had a little bit of a jumper, at that time. He wasn't just solely a high post player. So Wilt Chamberlain poses a problem, serious problem, because the 2012 team really only has one center, and that's Tyson Chandler. They only have one center. Davis is not really a center. Love is not a center. So this is what the problem is. Then you have Bill Russell, who's really a center playing off position in the power forward position. So essentially you have two centers. Bill Russell, unbeknownst to many people, Bill Russell could score. He wasn't the scorer that Wilt Chamberlain was, but he could score. Now, he only had a 14 points per game career average, but he had seasons where he averaged 18, 19 points per game. So he could actually score when needed. And in the playoffs, he scored big in certain games, 30, 35 points in certain games when they needed him to score. Well, what Bill Russell will wreak havoc at is on the defensive end when you have some of these guys like James Harden, Iguodala, LeBron James, Kobe Bryant. Although Kobe's a little bit older during this time period. I think he's like 33 years old, going on 34. Westbrook, Deron Williams. All these guys who are used to these wide open lanes will have a reality check when you have Wilt Chamberlain and Bill Russell down low on the defensive end. Now, you could try to pick and roll and try to draw a guy like Wilt Chamberlain out or Bill Russell out. But the problem is, even if you have one of these guys out there and then you try to try to drive the basket for a scoring opportunity, then you have Wilt Chamberlain or Bill Russell on the other end right there to swat your shit into the fifth row. So then you have Kareem coming off the bench with the most unstoppable shot in the NBA history. You have Bob Pettit, who is probably the only big out there that has three-point range. He could shoot to three-point range, even though there wasn't a three-point basket at the time when he was playing. But generally speaking, you look at the tape and see where he could shoot the ball. He could shoot at least toward three-point range. So he, could stretch the floor for the extreme team as well. But the biggest threat is the inside game for these guys, man. You have all of these great slashers, scorers. You know what I'm saying? These great inside players like Elvin Hayes and George Gervin. Arguably the best pure scorer in history, but Kevin Durant, is a better player, but George Gervin may still be the best pure scorer when you look at his shooting ability, you look at the array of moves that he had, the way he could just effortlessly put the ball in the basket. Uh, George Gervin is an ultimate weapon to have off the bench. Julius Erving, and with this team, I'm taking ABA version of Julius Erving. I'm taking New Jersey Nets version, big ass Afro Julius Erving. You know what I'm saying? That's the Julius Erving that was like the Michael Jordan of the ABA. Having him off the bench, plus Bob Pettit, Gervin, Nate Archibald, only man to ever average to lead the NBA, in scoring and assists, 34 points, 34 points, and 11 assists during I think it was the 1972-73 season. Awesome. Jerry West, he did have 3-point range, so he could stretch the floor for the extreme team. He and I think if you could put him and Rick Barry on the court at the same time, that would stretch the defense, the extreme team defense, out, and that would really cause some serious problems for the 2012 team. As far as on the inside, man, like that's where it really is going to kill this team. You know what I'm saying? If these guys had some more centers, some of the 2012 team, then this would be an easier call for the 2012 team. But the fact that they're so weak down low as far as size, I don't know. If this team got really hot, the 2012 team, as far as outside, they took like maybe 43 point attempts and made like 18 of them or something like that. In that situation, they could win. But more often than not, they're probably going to go more like 13 for 37 or 12 for 35 or something like that. You know what I'm saying? They're not going to normally make 23 pointers in a game. But I can see Wilt Chamberlain in the right situation scoring 50 points against this team. I could see Jerry West scoring 25 points easily. I could see Elgin Baylor scoring between 25 and 30 points. I could see Oscar Robertson putting up 18 points, 9 rebounds, 9 assists easy in his sleep. I can see Kareem scoring 24 points coming off the bench. I could see Elvin Hayes with that great turnaround jumper that he had. A lot of people don't know about Elvin Hayes. Elvin Hayes was a fucking beast, man. Elvin Hayes was an absolute beast. I think for his career, Elvin Hayes averaged like 21 and 13 for his career. In the last few years of his career, he was a journeyman. So those weren't even like his prime numbers. His prime numbers are more like 24 and 14 or something like that. I mean, Elvin Hayes is a beast. You have him come off the bench. Then you have Rick Barry, one of the great scorers / shooters of all times. I just think the points in the paint differential will be a little bit too much. Defensively, both teams. Well, now that I look at it, I mean, you have LeBron James in his prime at that time when he was looked at as a very good defensive player. Kevin Durant's above average defender. Westbrook's very good defender. Kobe Bryant's a great defender. Chandler's a great defender, but he's just undersized in this situation. Carmelo Anthony was never known for his defense, but Oscar Robertson's above average defensive player. Jerry West was a great defender. Elgin Baylor, I think, was above average. Bill Russell, potential GOAT defensive player. Wilt, near GOAT defensive player. Kareem, in his prime, above average. Pettit, I think Pettit was average. Julius Erving was average. Gervin, average. Nate, I think, above average. Elvin Hayes, great. Rick Barry, um, maybe a little bit average, above average, about average. But the front line defensively, oh my fucking God, man. Wilt Russell, Kareem, I they're going to limit any inside opportunities for the 2012 team, in my opinion. So ultimately, unless the 2012 team is somehow hitting a lot of their outside shots, I see the rebounding being overwhelmingly in favor of the extreme team, maybe like a plus differential of at least, man, 20 boards. And I'm not like joking like that. I mean, like, I could see like a distinct 55, depending on how many shot attempts there are, I could see a distinct 60 to 37 rebound advantage or something like that. Um, Bench scoring, I could see an advantage for the extreme team, and points in the paint. It's not going to be close, man. I just don't. I just don't know, man. It might be closer than what I'm thinking, but I think the size down low is just too much, and I think ultimately the extreme team would win in this situation um, by a comfortable margin. Maybe even double digits. I see 7, 8, 9, maybe even a little bit more than that, 11, 12 points. I don't think it'll be a blowout, but I think it'll be a comfortable victory because the size differential is just too much. You know what I'm saying? You're talking about Wilt Chamberlain playing in modern day rules. I see him having a field day, an absolute field day against that front line, man. You're talking about Tyson Chandler, who's 6'10", 235, I think, going up against Wilt Chamberlain, who was approaching 300 pounds at that time, pure absolute muscle, like 4% body fat at the time, 7'1". Nah, rebounding machine, shot blocking machine, 40 plus inch vertical leap, could run the 440 in 4.4, you know, uh, less than 4.4, I think, at the time. That's just me, I just don't really see it, I could see Kobe Bryant trying desperately everything in his arsenal. I could see him, you know, going after, you know, uh, you know, Kobe had the heart of a lion, and I could see him trying to will this Olympic team to a victory. But I think that I could see him driving, trying to, score, maybe even dunk on Bill Russell. But I could see Wilt Chamberlain coming from behind, you know what I'm saying, or coming over and just absolutely like just fouling the shit out of Kobe, talking shit to him. And I could see Kobe feeling Wilt Chamberlain's strength. I can see a lot of these guys, when they finally get a taste of how strong Wilt Chamberlain is, that it's going to really be in the back of their minds. I'm not doing that again. You know what I'm saying? The same way I remember when Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, you would go up against Artis Gilmore, who I believe is the second strongest player in NBA history. Artis Gilmore used to absolutely bully Kareem. There was a situation where I might have my facts a little bit miscued, but I remember reading something about when Artis Gilmore, he may have been with the Spurs at the time, or he might have still been with the Chicago Bulls when he went to the NBA. And I think it was a situation where the two teams were playing against each other, like in a pregame situation. And before the actual game, some of the players out there, and I think they were at the Forum at the time, so in LA. And Artis Gilmore was banging against Kareem Abdul-Jabbar down low, and Kareem just quit. Like, I think after like a few minutes, Kareem just was like, "Nah, I don't want to keep doing this anymore." Like, as far as he did not want to deal with that physicality that Artis Gilmore brought to the game. And as strong as Artis Gilmore was, Artis Gilmore could never do anything with Wilt Chamberlain. He could move everybody, Artis Gilmore, but he could not do that against Will Chamberlain. And I think Wilt will be the ultimate factor in this ball game. But that's just my opinion. Doesn't mean I'm right. Tell me what you guys think.